Today's video has been sponsored by Manta Sleep and their high-quality sleep masks. As the days get longer, later sunsets can disrupt your circadian rhythm, making it harder to get to sleep and making you feel tired the next day, which is where a Manta Sleep mask can help, completely blacking out the light with pressure-free soft eye cups to help you drift off to sleep and keeping your circadian rhythm intact. The breathable, durable materials on the highly adjustable masks are designed to be comfortable for any sleeping position, featuring straps that sit above your ears and ventilation holes for airflow. You can even swap out the head strap and eye cups to find the combination that fits you the best. Beyond just blocking out light, there's also the Manta Sound Mask. Its razor-thin Bluetooth headphones let you listen to whatever soothing sounds you like, perfect for blocking out daytime noise for meditating or having a nap, or just to help you sink into snoozyland. The first 500 customers to shop during the upcoming sale from May 26th to June 8th will get a free sleep accessories kit. So visit the Manta Sleep website and use the discount code in the description and pinned comment below to get 10% off. Hello everybody and welcome back to Spacedock. I'm SOJOURN and today's topic is all about drones and uncrewed craft, whether they fly around in the sky, sneak around on the ground, or float through space. Their ever-increasing prevalence in the real world for all sorts of applications mirrors the ways they've been depicted in fiction, and the best example of that I can think of is Ace Combat 7. While the game is a silly arcadey thing with ludicrous flight performance and plenty of unrealistic but awesome stuff, I feel like it presents pros and cons of armed drone use in a well thought out manner. In fact, the whole story is about their use, presenting arguments on both sides for their use in combat. They're effective thanks to their numbers and agility, all while not putting pilots at risk, unless the drones are shooting at them of course. But on the other hand, they are at risk from hacking attacks, with control over them swapping sides on occasion, with the smarter ones being unable to make moral decisions of their own, relying instead on pre-programmed orders. The game is a perfect summary of the use of armed drones in warfare, but does skip over the benefits of using unarmed drones for other roles like reconnaissance. With the rising use of drones in the modern age, they do feel like a particularly high-tech thing, but they're a lot older than you might realise. In fact, there have been remote-operated planes around since the First World War used as target practice, and the term drone comes from such target aircraft in the 1920s. The more modern idea of UAVs being used for gathering intel has been around since the 60s, and since then they've evolved into many different shapes and forms, both real and fictional. And if you want to expand the meaning a bit more, we've also been sending drones out to space to explore the planets and perform science in our stead, and again this has also been happening in fiction. The next step for real drones seems to be the idea of collaborative combat teaming. This pairs up semi-autonomous drones with people to provide them with extra capabilities, like more sensors or additional weapons or extra electronic warfare options. The most obvious example of this being for aircraft with the loyal wingman concept. One of the big downsides with drones is their vulnerability to electronic warfare. Now of course crewed vehicles are absolutely subject to this as well, but at least there the crew is still going to be in control, they just may lack communications or reliable sensor data. But for a remotely controlled craft, if the control signal is directly disrupted, then the vehicle's effectiveness becomes very limited. This isn't much of a problem for basic recon drones like those we've already mentioned. They likely don't have very complicated instructions, so if they don't shut down completely, they can just sit or circle somewhere until the situation improves, or even follow pre-programmed instructions to return home. But loss of control over a drone directly in combat is a bigger deal, since that is a much more complicated situation and following pre-programmed goals may not be possible. Another concern is the potential for drones to be completely hacked, either to shut them down or even worse, to fully gain control of them. There's a lot of ways to hack stuff, but with drones, the fact they need an open connection to control them presents a point of access, albeit one that is likely heavily protected. There are ways to avoid this issue though, like with having superior electronic warfare equipment, or even unjammable physical links like fiber optic cables, which is a method that does come with some caveats. The big one is that a cable provides a hard limit on maximum range, so this solution isn't applicable to everything. You can't really run a wire out to remotely guide your space drone driving around on the moon, can you? The link could also be severed, either accidentally or deliberately by a savvy opponent. Having fully autonomous drones is another solution, though to really fully prevent hacking it would have to be very closed off to external access, even to friendlies. This brings up the questions about whether a machine can or even should be able to make moral choices, and therefore whether it's possible to trust it. And that's before even getting into the idea of full AI, though they may be able to get away with basic systems if it's a basic drone, like the auto turrets we all know and love. But is a turret a drone? What even is a drone from a semantic standpoint? Where's the line between missiles and drones? They can both have sensors, guidance, motors, maybe a payload, maybe a pre-programmed system, maybe remote control. Helldivers 2 has a good example of this with the G50 Seeker grenades, which are literally just flying grenades. If there's no enemies nearby, they hover next to you until something comes in range or they run out of battery. And you can also ping something further away, they will fly off to attack. So are they missiles, grenades, or drones? This weirdness around definitions gets worse when you start thinking about other types of robot. There's a whole slew of humanoid robots seen throughout fiction, but would you consider them to be drones? Does the definition depend on if they are remotely operated by some central computer, or if they're autonomous? What if they're just a proxy for a human, like the plane directors in New Captain Scarlet? And what about if the robot is no longer humanoid? The Corpus in Warframe make heavy use of very animalistic designs, both as regular troops and particularly as heavy units. But they also use what are literally called drones as hovering support, mostly in the form of mobile shield generators to protect nearby friendlies. What this shows is that what counts as a drone or a missile or a robot comes down more to vibes. But I think we can all agree that a remote-controlled or autonomous recon aircraft really is just a drone, like the scanners in Half-Life 2. The very first thing you see when you step off that train when the blasted thing blinds you to let you know that you are being monitored. They are fairly harmless apart from that, unlike their smaller cousins, the manhacks. These are horrible little flying saw blades that are much more about terrorizing a population into submission than anything else. Later on in the game, you encounter the synth version of the scanners, mostly when they drop hopper mines on you. But do those count as drones? Because technically synths are peculiar biomechanical tech, and as such you might consider them as living beings. But let's say they are, because they're a great example of using drones as a supplemental set of sensors for other units, particularly armoured ones. In Half-Life 2, they accompany Striders in the city, scouting areas around them for targets. This is one of those things that's all the rage with improving real-life armoured vehicles too, providing advanced situational awareness to tank commanders. We're seeing manufacturers even include drone launching equipment directly on their vehicles now. These could function as roving drones as we normally think of them, or more like a flying periscope. There's fictional versions of this sort of thing out there too, like the support drone that docks with K's spinner in Blade Runner 2049. Warhammer 40k's Tau make great use of drones, and their vehicles are no exception. Their armoured vehicles use them more as additional weapons carriers, but the Tau's heavy mechs have a neat application where their drones shield the mechs from incoming fire. This can also be done on a personnel level too. From more futuristic ideas like the little eye scanner spiders used by police in Minority Report to more contemporary stuff seen in various Tom Clancy games. This idea of a small autonomous vehicle for squad level transport has been around for ages. If I remember right, this concept was also one of the justifications behind Boston Dynamics and their walking robots, way back when they were these big chunky things. Now they, and other companies, have commercially available quadruped robots like Spot, which can be used for remote monitoring and all sorts of other applications. Lastly, care needs to be taken when considering including drones into a setting, as they may not be appropriate. You need to ask questions like, does the technology and culture allow for them? Do they even fit into the story being told and the general feeling of a setting? For example, Dune doesn't have smart computers, so the little assassin drone we see trying to get Paul is remote controlled. And even then, its controller has to be in the same building. That shows how limited the technology is. Drones are a peculiar thing to define, with lots of crossover with many other things, which is especially apparent in sci-fi where those other things are very common. But beyond the semantic arguments, their role in warfare is only going to become more and more important, and closer to how they have been depicted in sci-fi throughout the years. You can support Spacedock by joining our Patreon, where you can get our frigate and space fighter design reference books. Alternatively, you can support us directly through YouTube by becoming a channel member. Thanks to our supporters, and thank you for watching.